Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're starting a new series. It's a bit of a weird one, this, because it's not often I do an introduction after filming a video, but I set out with a golfer, he's 68 years old, to start a series where, you know, I help him get from 14 handicap. He's been around about this 14 handicap mark for a long time. He's played golf a long time, but in fact he's starting to go in the wrong direction. And he had a golf lesson with me, and I looked at his swing and looked at how he hit the ball, and I'm thinking, how does this guy have 14? You know, he's hitting the ball like a 5 handicap golfer. And I thought, you know what, I can help this guy get to single figures quite quickly. And I thought, what a great video to obviously share with you guys, because I'm sure there's a lot of you guys like that who hit the ball far too well to be off the handicap you're at, but struggle, you know, to get your handicap down. But we've done the video, and we set off to do what I call a 60-shot game MOT to sort of identify strengths and weaknesses. And he won't thank me for saying this, but what should have took probably about 30 minutes to film, we spent 2 hours filming and we only got half it done. And that's because he's been a journalist. He's had a 50-year career being a journalist, and he's spent quite a lot of time as a sports journalist. And in fact, he's been fortunate enough to meet, you know, a list of, you know, high-profile players. I'm going to just mention a few just to give you some kind of idea of the kind of players that he's met. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Seve Ballesteros, Tom Watson, Nick Faldo, Tony Jacklin, Lee Trevino. The list goes on. You know, he's played with some of these guys. You know, he's played a lot of pro-ams with sportsmen, and he's just got so much to talk about. So it turned into, you know, finding quite a lot out about, obviously, Chris during this bit of filming and some encounters that he'd had with some pros. And I thought, you know what, actually, I'm liking this. And I think you guys will be quite interested in this. So I had to redo the introduction because I thought otherwise you might switch off, because, you know, I can't call it the 60-shot game MOT because we only got part way through it. So we're going to extend it into a few videos, but during that journey of finding out about Chris's game, obviously we'll find out a little bit about, you know, Chris and some of these fantastic encounters that he's had with some of probably your heroes as well as mine. Probably not quite my era, but maybe more, you know, your era, having looked at demographic, you know, subscribers that we've got. So it's going to be an interesting one. So we're going to go and meet Chris. Obviously, we've already filmed this video, and we're going to start to work through the 60-shot MOT, which I really recommend you guys to do if you're mid to high handicappers. And look, scratch golfers do this quite frequently, but you mid to handicappers just don't do it enough. So I want you to actually make these notes, so during your winter practice, you know, at the end of the season, you've got some fantastic ways of sort of identifying your weaknesses and being able to measure progress. And that's the key, because then it, you know, it will reflect in your score during the course. Anyway, let's crack on. We're going to meet Chris, and stick with us on this one. I think this could be a fantastic series, and by God, Chris has got some fantastic stories which I think will really interest you. So guys, we're going to go and take Chris up onto the practice area. We're going to do a 60 game or a 60-shot MOT. And, you know, what I'd love you guys to do is maybe have a go at this at home and put your scores in the comments, and we're going to test your game.
Right, okay.
60 shots, I think, you know, I think you'd be lucky to score over halfway. But I think if we focus on this area, that score's going to get very strong, and then it will definitely transition into your golf. That's what we're going to try anyway. So if you've got scratch players, you know, plus handicappers at your club, you'll probably notice them, or you'll see them when they're practicing. They've always got a little notebook like this. So this is what we've got for you today. So we're going to have some measured practice in here, starting with a 6-foot putt. Right. So if I could just borrow a tee. I'm going to keep it pretty simple and just step out 6 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're not using any tape measures for this one. And the test is going to basically, there's going to be 6 shots in each test. Okay. So I'm going to be marking, I'm going to stand behind you, and I'm going to just mark, well, first of all, if you hole it or if you miss it, but actually if you miss it, on which side you miss it on. Okay. Right. So I'm starting to learn a little bit about, you know, obviously your misses when you don't quite get it right. Okay. Well done, good. Okay. How would you rate yourself as a putter then, Chris?
Been very poor.
Yeah.
But it's probably a bit bizarre. I've gone away from any sort of technique. I try and... I stood over a putt playing a match last year, a friendly match, and I said, and the guy had holed the putt from about 25 foot, and I needed it from just inside him for a half. And I said, oh, what would Jack Nicklaus do here? And I
Yeah.
stood over, I crouched over it, eye over the ball and everything, and I hold it.
Wow.
And it felt good.
Yeah.
And it's become almost a joke with my playing partners as well. Every time I'm on a putt, said, come on, Jack.
Yeah.
So I'm probably focusing more on that and away from technique. But,
Yeah.
but I've probably putted better than I have. I'm still not putting that well.
Yeah.
But I do find here in particular, the greens are very difficult to read. I mean, I'm coming to the end of my 8th season here.
Yeah.
8th year, and I still can't read these greens.
Yeah.
I find them very, very difficult. So that's a problem, because you're confident, aren't you? If you can read, if you're confident in where the putt's going,
You can commit.
you forget
all-
about that and you commit to the stroke.
Yeah.
But whereas if you stood over it and you're thinking, is it that much left to right, or is it
Yeah.
right, or is it even right to left? You know, have I got it wrong?
Yeah.
I think that impedes the
No,
swing.
I'd completely agree.
So yeah, I would say I'm not. I do believe when I started the game, I was the world's best putter.
yeah.
Absolutely the world's best putter. This was at 17, until someone said this one's for a par in about my 3rd round, and my putting went absolutely then. It was incredible.
Completely
The
wrecked
mindset,
you.
because it didn't matter if you're putting for a 7 or an 8,
Yeah.
you just ram it at the hole, particularly at the age of 17.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, oh, this means something. So let's see if we can make this mean something. Push again.
Okay. A little bit of a pattern there. I'm going to put a little asterisk and green reading.
Okay.
Just you know, that's just some feedback I've got from
Yeah,
this
it is.
conversation.
I'd say there's a genuine thing with my knees. You know, played a lot of football and damaged the cartilage, had operations, and weren't particularly successful.
Yeah.
And I do find it hard to actually, to get
sometimes low.
to get low, and then
Yeah.
the pain of getting back up again.
Do you get any sense from your feet? You know, just through
I
standing
do
wide.
do
And,
again, that's another thing that
Yeah.
one of many that my partners laugh at me for, is I do the aim point thing
Yeah.
sometimes, and I think it's really helpful.
yeah.
Just to go and try and feel it.
I
'cause-
think when it's a very subtle amount, it
Yeah.
does. If you just sort of balance yourself, you can feel where your weight's wanting to pressure.
absolutely,
Can't you?
yeah, I do, and I do it sometimes, but it's partly, we're all taught pace of play, keep up with
Yeah.
the pace of play, and you feel a bit like an idiot when you're putting for a 5 or a 6.
yeah.
You know, if you were putting for a birdie, then you wouldn't mind doing it, but that's a rare event.
Completely true. Isn't
It is.
guys?
It's
You
a.
can
You
relate
do.
to
You're
that.
trying to keep and get out of other people's way if they've got a good score going.
Well done.
That one was for a birdie.
And you're quite right. It's not as easy when you're under them circumstances or a competition, is it? I mean, obviously here there is a bit of accountability because people are watching, and obviously you don't want to look silly.
No. Well, like most people, well, nowadays the youngsters will be looking to guys like you on YouTube.
Yeah.
When I started in the 70s, it was reading books and magazines.
Yeah.
And virtually everybody with the putting advice is, look at it from all 4 sides.
Yeah.
But of course we can't do that and keep up with the pace of play.
Yeah.
So it's a great piece of advice, but how many of us ever do it?
It's very true.
And
yeah.
and how many of us need to do it? But it's definitely helpful.
Maybe back in the generation that you started golf and you were reading these books, were pace of play not so?
Oh no, it's always the pace.
Has it always been pace of play?
Yeah, well, many people have heard that. I worked for Golf Illustrated magazine, which was a weekly magazine, but very big, one of the biggest, and I think it was possibly the world's
We've got some great
first.
stories coming in this series at some point.
No, well, this is not a great one, but it's an interesting one, I think. So we're talking 1978 that I was there, and we used to get a very good post box each week, letters to the editor. And the 2 main things people moaned about then were people not repairing their pitch marks, slow pace of play.
Really?
Yeah.
And we're still moaning
And
about those things now.
we're 45 years on, and they're the same things that us guys and ladies moan about when we get out on the course.
Brilliant.
Those 2 things. So I think it's human nature.
Yeah, completely agree.
If people are too selfish to repair a pitch mark, they're not going to repair it, are they?
No.
And that's always been
And we
the
see
way.
our greenkeepers banging about, on messages in the morning. But you're right. Are there people that don't do it going to change?
I don't think so. I think it's their nature,
Yeah.
and it's sad.
Okay. Start on the left.
Is that 2 out of 4?
We've got 2 out of 5.
About 5 there, I can't even count. That's probably why my scores are so high. Or they could need to be even higher. Ooh.
Well done. So 3 out of 6. Probably say an average start. So we're going to move on to a 12 and an 18 foot. Guys, obviously we might split this test into 2 separate videos, but what we're going to find out as we doing these tests is not just a little bit about Chris's game, just in general a bit about Chris, because obviously this is going to be a series where we try and help Chris get back to a single figure handicap, because it's not like you're somebody that's a progressing golfer. You play golf a long time, haven't you? And you've kind of,
yeah, on and off.
It's not like it's not like Tahid, who got into golf 2 years ago and he's a complete fresh book. You've got years worth of habits, and obviously,
yeah, a lot of them bad. I do think well, it is, unfortunately, you slip into them, and also the fact that I didn't go to a pro when I started.
Yeah,
I've probably made the migration that so many of us make, because you play pitch and putt with your friends.
Yeah,
and then you used to. I don't think there's so many pitch and putt courses, are there now? But that was the way you got into it, and you'd go and play, and you'd think you were okay, and then you'd try on a proper golf course.
But the difference between this series and the other series, Chris, is we're going to be working with what you've got, and that's why this test is very good for the people at home who aren't going to be having full swing rebuilds because they play golf a long time. So we're going to move on to the 12-foot putt. Obviously, find a bit more about your game and the 18-foot putt, but more importantly, a bit more about you. And there's a big reason why I like you, which we'll get onto in a minute. So yeah, Chris. Some of you might not like this, but I certainly do. He's a Man United fan. So we've got something in common there.
Yep. Despite the accent, born in Manchester.
It weren't that good last night.
I can hear you booing.
Good roll. Unlucky. I know, to be fair, as much as I don't like Leeds, I would prefer him in Premiership.
Yeah, I was the season ticket holder at Old Trafford. And right, try not to use the expression with respect, but with respect to teams like Swansea or West Brom. My son David and I used to travel there. You didn't have that feeling in your gut that you did when you were playing against Leeds. You wanted to beat them. It was an occasion. I'm not saying you don't want to beat the other teams, but it really meant something.
Yeah. And
it was great atmosphere. Yeah, I hope they'll come back again. Ooh, giving it a go. I can hear all the Leeds fans cheering.
Brilliant. So Chris said off camera earlier, made me laugh. I said to him, is there anything that's changed over the last couple of years and why your golf might have gone downhill? He said, yeah, my playing partners. I'm now playing with Michael Swales.
Yeah, love the guy to bits, but I mean, my other playing partner, Dave, he's the nicest man in the world, or he was until we started playing with Michael. And now...
That can always be your Achilles heel, your playing partners.
Yeah, well, it could just be me that I deserve all the...
That's a nice putt. Ooh. Oh, that were unlucky. There's not much movement on it, is there?
No, I think there's... I'm allowed to say that I don't particularly... I don't practice a lot on this putting green because I find it very hard to get a putt. Virtually every putt has got some movement. Yeah. And I know you're going to get that out on the course.
Yeah.
But when here you want to practice on starting it straight and everything, I think I find that difficult.
Yeah. You might be wondering, guys, well, how is this going to help Chris today? I think what it does, it makes him accountable so that when I want to spend time doing things on the putting, he gets why, and he's not thinking, well, should I be working on my longer game? So these results today, I think, are going to help you commit to our
more
lessons and as coaching moving forward, because you're going to be fully, behind what we're doing. And obviously for me to get to know a bit more about your game and highlight some weaknesses.
I've been lucky enough to play with some really great players over the years and watch them a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really get most of all is how good they are at getting up and down
Yeah.
and holding putts like this for birdies. They're just astonishing. They really are.
Yeah.
But they obviously put in the work, but all the good players, you know, the low amateurs as well, they're all so good at it.
So you might be sat on thinking that Chris has been really unlucky on this test, because when he has missed the putts, some of them have missed right on the lip, you know, just a fraction. But if I was being critical, which obviously I have to be, is that to hold the putt, it's not just about the line of the putt, it's about the weight of the putt.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you're reading the line right, but the weight's wrong. So if you were to look at, let's say, Dylan or Charlotte, who practice here a lot, when they miss a putt, there'd be a straight line of balls because the weight is just same every time.
Right, yes.
And I think with you, if you miss a putt, sometimes a pin high, sometimes a 2 foot or 4 foot past. So you know, it's very hard to pick a line when you fluctuate on the pressure you apply on this sort of putt. So you've got to be somebody that's thinking, if I miss this putt, am I going to miss it dead weight? Are you trying to hold putts dead weight, or are you trying to hold them at a pace that's going to roll 2 foot past? And then you apply the pressure on the same every time. Yeah. So I don't know what your theory is with putting. Are you trying to, or do you think about that? You know,
I'll probably be honest. Well, I will be honest, and say that I'm thinking more about the line than I am about the pace.
Because there's the link very closely. So I think that's probably something in our practice. What we might do is get a piece of string 2 foot behind, and if you miss the putt, we get it rolling up to the string, so that you start to apply the same pressure on all these 6 and 12 foot putts, and then it becomes easier to read the line then.
Right, yeah. Did I read once the science is that the perfect pace is actually about 4 to 6 inches behind the cup?
Yeah.
That's the perfect pace for the ball to drop. Or when I say perfect pace, obviously exactly on line if it's the exact distance, sorry, if it's on line. But in order to maximise the chance of it falling in the cup centrally, left or right.
Yeah.
So any more pace than that, and you're likely to lip out or, you know, miss it.
That's true.
So let's see if I can. I do feel as if I'm aiming a bit too far right as well.
Okay. So on the 12 foot and 6 foot putt, guys, we're scoring it on whether Chris holds the putt or not. Yeah. We're going to move into a little bit of a longer putt now, into an 18 foot putt, but the score's going to be more in terms of whether you get down in 2.
Right.
Now that might not seem very ambitious, but we've got to be realistic here. You know, obviously, even the pros aren't expecting to hold 18 foot putts. You know, if they miss the putt, they want it to be, you know, a given.
Right, yeah.
So that's going to be the next step, is looking at something a little bit longer. Thank you. Remember, you've got to try to 2-putt this. Well done. First test.
Did we mention the 99 on the ball for the treble?
Were they personalised?
No, they were just coincidence. And I don't actually use this on the course. I've kept it in my bag for years.
That's definitely the best treble that there's ever been.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Well, we didn't buy ours. Oh.
Yeah. We played under financial fair play. Great putt. Unlucky. I think you had the line, didn't you?
Yeah.
Lovely weight.
Shy.
I think this is a very good test for sort of scratch and above. You know, I think a lot of scratch golfers at home might be thinking that, you know, well, I'd be trying to hold these putts from 18 foot. I'm sure you're not trying to miss them, are you?
No.
But the key is it's making sure you 2-putt. You know, it's fine trying to hold the putt, but what we don't want to do is be too aggressive and miss them, because if you are trying to play to scratch, you can't 3-putt, can you?
No.
Let's be honest.
No, that has killed me at times, the 3, well, and still tends to.
Lovely weight. Put that in.
Just remember, my friends don't let me have that one.
So guys, if you've watched this test today, we've got an 18 putting MOT for you to try at home. Chris so far is 1 shot away from getting 9 out of 18 on this test.
Ooh.
And I think what this test has sort of highlighted for me is that the main part of the putting we need to improve is 12 foot and in and holing puts.
Yes.
You know, in them holing areas are where you should be holing them. For somebody sort of trying to get to single figures, you need to hold more than 3 out of 9.
Yeah, I do. When I do,
it should at least be half, shouldn't it?
I don't keep my stats in a book, which I think I should do. Not like Matt Fitzpatrick, who.
Yeah.
I could tell you what Billy Foster said recently about that, but you might have to bleep it. Can I tell people?
Yeah,
Lucky enough to meet Billy fairly recently. I'm talking about Matt Fitzpatrick, obviously. Bill is a great guy, and I raised the issue of Matt having kept a log of every shot since he was 14, and Billy just said, yeah, he said it's borderline bollocks, but it works for him. And yeah, I mean, that's a great caddy can see that there's no point saying to him, oh, you don't need to do that, Matt.
Yeah.
You know, he lets him go with
I think
with
if
what
I
he's
was
got.
to cast my opinion on that, some of the stuff that he's done a long time ago might not be that relevant, but it would certainly be relevant in a shorter time frame.
Yes.
And he's obviously just kept the books for his own, you know,
absolutely,
for his history, his game. But
I should point out, Billy meant it as a compliment, really.
As a joke.
Yeah. If you ever go to Bingley St Ives, ask if they'll show you just quickly in the members' bar, which is a shrine to Billy Foster's career. It's absolutely amazing.
Is it?
Oh, he's got all bags, the tour bags of, you know, Garcia, Westwood, Matt, obviously, and he's had a replica made of the US Open trophy as well.
He's definitely got some great stories.
It is tremendous. If they'll let you just have a peep in there, it's a course well worth playing as well.
I think the best thing about his stories is you can just keep listening to him, even though you've already listened to him, and they're still as good.
He is. Oh, he's terrific.
Because you've probably seen Billy Foster. If you've probably seen him more than once. And he does sometimes tell the same stories, but they're just as good every time he tells them.
He's a superb storyteller. And
he is.
Yeah, he's an immensely likeable guy. Great to... Didn't have any qualms at all about coming chatting to myself and the other guy.
No. So in the first part of the game MOT, where we've just done 18 putts, Chris scored 9, and I think it highlighted that he's quite good at putting from 18 foot and, you know, probably a little bit longer and getting you 2 putts, but highlighted more the fact that inside 12 foot, I don't think you're holding enough putts.
No, I'd agree.
And would you say that this test has sort of learnt you anything new or not? Or did you think you were a better putter than that inside 12 foot? Or did you already know that it were a weakness anyway?
I'm probably a pessimist, so I would think that most of my games are weak. But yeah, I'm aware that I need to be a better putter. I did spend probably, hang on, there's a relation here. A couple of years ago when I got to 9.5, I was spending more time on the putting green than I have done in recent
I know when I look back
years.
at a lot of my good rounds, I've always putted well. You know, it's very rare that you're ever going to have one of your lowest scoring rounds without putting well.
Well, definitely not my handicap. You've got to be getting up and down, you know, at least 50% of the time, I would say, because you know, sometimes that is to get a bogey. You know, if you've missed the green, say missed a par 4 in 3, you've got to get up and down for just a bogey.
So guys, this is something you could do at home in literally 5 minutes. I'd love you to do this test this weekend at your golf club and get in the comments with your score. Now, in terms of Chris and how I think we can improve him inside 12 foot, he's been a lot more, from what I've seen, he's been a lot more aware of the pressure that you're putting on each putt and the amount of distance you're trying to miss the putt if you miss it, or you know, the pressure you're applying, because I said the weight of each putt will fluctuate, so you can't get the line, you know. I didn't think the putt moved that much. It did when you sort of under hit it, and then when you over it, it went through the break.
It did, yeah. It was swinging away to the left if it didn't have enough weight.
Yeah, so I thought your lines were pretty good.
Right.
You know, you had the line, but you kept missing it because the weight weren't right. And so that's something we can work on. So that's helped me identify a little bit of a weakness in your putting. Guys, if you're enjoying this test and you want to find out a little bit more about Chris, he's got some interesting stories which keep cropping out. We're going to now move on to short game, which is going to include a greenside chip, a long greenside chip, and then we're going to get on to sort of short greenside bunkers and long greenside bunkers, because this has come about. I mean, I remember getting down sort of as a scratch golfer, and as I only ever went into the depth of doing greenside bunkers, just getting out of greenside bunker. But you know, these really good players, and we've got plenty up here, they're practicing sort of like, you know, very short sort of greenside bunkers, long greenside bunkers, high face greenside bunkers. There's so much variation of what they're doing, and sometimes we get out on a golf course and we know we've got weaknesses and we're scared of the shot before we even try and play it, aren't we?
It is a big weakness with me. Generally, you know, it's not a really shabby lie. I can get out of the bunker, but
yeah,
I'm hopeful that I've short-sided myself. I'm okay if the flag is only sort of 4 yards away from me, 5 yards away from me. It's the getting the distance. You know, if it's 20 yards, what do I do differently? Do I swing harder? Do I look at a point further behind the ball and stuff like that?
Yeah,
that'd be a good thing to get into.
And that's probably, you know, without being critical there, you already know about this weakness, and you carry on playing golf every week with that weakness in your game, without actually probably trying to get an advice from a better player or having a lesson and trying to work that one out. So that's something, we're going to try and identify, and of course we're going to try and correct all these issues and get this handicap down.
Will be good.
Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that video. Obviously, you've met Chris, and this series is going to be about trying to get him back to playing single figure handicap golf by not ripping his swing apart, but trying to fine tune and get him scoring in these scoring areas. And obviously we're getting on the course to have a few games soon, so make sure you follow this one, and we'll see you in a few days' time. Bye.